Good afternoon. This is All India Radio. I'm Maria Albina Michael and with me is Abhishek Mukhopadhyay with the Midday News. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to interact with Chief Ministers on COVID-19 situation at 4:30 p.m. today. Government says Omicron variant of COVID-19 is not common cold and should not be taken lightly. Over 154 crore 61 lakh COVID-19 vaccine doses administered under nationwide vaccination drive so far. Over 2,47,000 new cases of COVID-19 reported in the last 24 hours. Recovery rate stands at 95.59%. Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal meets his UK counterpart Anne-Marie Trevelyan for the launch of the India-UK Free Trade Agreement negotiations today. Congress releases first list of candidates for the Uttar Pradesh Assembly polls. BJP to finalize candidates for the first two phases. Lohri, the harvest festival being celebrated in different parts of the country today. Assam to celebrate Uruka tonight on the eve of Magh or Bogali Bihu. 7 players withdrawn from the India Open Badminton Championship being held in Delhi after testing COVID positive. In cricket, India to resume second innings at the overnight score of 57 for 2 against South Africa on day 3 of the third and final test in Cape Town today. As the number of COVID-19 cases are rising fast in several parts of the country, we appeal to our listeners to be vigilant and to get fully vaccinated and help others, including children between 15 and 18 years, get vaccinated. As the new Omicron variant of coronavirus is causing concern, please continue to follow the 3 simple steps to stay safe. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact national helpline numbers 011-239-78046 and 1075. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will interact with Chief Ministers of all states today at 4:30 p.m. through video conferencing. During the meeting, the Prime Minister will review the COVID situation in the country and take stock of the measures implemented to curb the spread of the infection. The meeting is being held amid surge in COVID-19 cases in the country due to the Omicron variant. On last Sunday, Mr. Modi had chaired a high-level virtual meeting to review the COVID-19 situation in the country, ongoing preparedness of health infrastructure and logistics, status of the vaccination campaign, and the emergence of new COVID-19 variant Omicron and its public health implications for the country. Over 154 crore 61 lakh vaccine doses have been administered so far under the nationwide vaccination drive. Over 76 lakh 32,000 doses were administered yesterday. India's active caseload currently stands at 11 lakh 17,531. Over 2 lakh 47,000 new cases were reported in the last 24 hours. Active cases stands at 3.08%. The ministry said till now 5,488 cases of Omicron variant has been reported in the country. Out of these, 2,162 people have recovered. Health Ministry said over 84,000 people recovered from COVID-19 infection in the last 24 hours. The recovery rate is currently at 95.59%. 380 deaths were reported in the last 24 hours.
Health Ministry has said that more than 157 crore 36 crore vaccine doses have been provided to states and union territories so far through centers free of cost channel and through direct state procurement category. It said more than 15 crore 75 lakh balance and unutilized COVID vaccine doses are still available with the states annuities to be administered. Over 3 crore children between the age group of 15 to 18 years have received the first dose of COVID-19 vaccine. Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia said that there is a great sense of responsibility and enthusiasm among young India.
Niti Aayog member Health Dr. V.K. Paul has warned that Omicron variant of coronavirus is not the common cold and it should not be taken lightly just because it is causing mild infections. Briefing media in New Delhi yesterday, Dr. Paul said this variant has led to the collapse of the health system of some countries. He stressed that vaccination is an important pillar in the COVID response program. Dr. Paul said people need to be vigilant, get vaccinated and follow COVID-appropriate behavior.
ओमिक्रॉन इज नॉट कॉमन कोल्ड. इतना सिंपल, इतना साधारण ये नहीं है कि हम इसको लाइटली लें. एक भावना बने जा रही है कि क्या होगा, ऐसा नहीं सोचे. इसी ओमिक्रॉन की वजह से कई देशों के हेल्थ सिस्टम कोलैप्स हो गए. इसी की वजह से बहुत हद तक हेल्थ वर्कर्स को घर में छुट्टी लेके बैठना पड़ा और प्रेशर पड़ा. सोसाइटी की जिम्मेवारी है कि इसको स्लो करें. इंडिविजुअल की जिम्मेवारी है कि अपनी प्रोटेक्शन करें मास्क से, फैमिली की प्रोटेक्शन करें मास्क लगा के, और प्रोटेक्शन करें वैक्सीन लेके. वैक्सीन आर प्रोवाइडिंग protection against serious disease. It's a matter of fact.
Delhi added 27,561 COVID cases and 40 deaths yesterday. The city's daily case count has only ever been higher on 20th April last year when Delhi added 28,395 infections. The fatalities yesterday were the most in a day since 10th June last year when Delhi recorded 44 deaths and took the city's overall pandemic toll to 25,240.
In Bihar, the number of daily COVID cases continue to rise with 6,413 more people testing positive for the virus during the last 24 hours. With this, the number of active cases in the state has increased to 28,659. Maximum positive cases of 13,375 were reported from Patna, followed by 1,329 from Muzaffarpur and 1,169 from Gaya. The COVID positivity rate in the state has further risen to 3.55%. Amidst rapidly increasing cases of corona infection in Chhattisgarh, the number of active patients has crossed 27,000. The average positivity rate in the state is also more than 9%. Meanwhile, the state government has directed all the district collectors to take appropriate steps to prevent spread of corona infection according to local circumstances in their district.
In the instructions issued by the Chhattisgarh government to the divisional commissioners and collectors, all government offices should be operational with minimum presence of employees and work from home method may be adopted if needed. Besides, operations in central offices like bank, post offices, insurance companies and also in private and public establishments should be continued with minimum presence of employees. Along with this, all meetings should be held virtually through video conferencing. Meanwhile, the COVID vaccination campaign in the age group of 15 to 18 years in the state have been inoculated first dose of COVID vaccine. Vikalp Shukla, AIR News, Raipur.
In Odisha, the daily COVID positive cases have crossed 10,000 mark. This is the highest ever single-day positive cases in the state in the current wave of the pandemic. Accordingly, the total active case load of the state has shot up beyond 44,000. The number of cases in Union Territory Ladakh has crossed the 500 mark today. Our Leh correspondent reports that consecutively for the last 3 days, the positivity rate reported over 10% in Leh. In West Bengal, the number of active COVID cases has surpassed 1,16,000 as the positivity rate climbs to 30.86%. Over 22,000 new cases have been reported within the past 24 hours, out of which one-third cases were from Kolkata. The city reported 7,060 new COVID cases with 7 fresh fatalities. The number of active cases in Rajasthan has gone up to 38,448. About 44% of the total active cases are in Jaipur alone. 9,488 cases of COVID infection have been reported in the last 24 hours in the state.
3,500 new cases were reported in Jaipur yesterday. A large number of COVID cases are being reported among the employees of government and private offices. Markets in the state are allowed to open till 8 p.m. Strict action is being taken by the police and administration against those who violate the COVID guidelines. Tourist arrivals have reduced in most of the tourist places of the state. At the same time, the booking of hotels have also been cancelled. Jitendra Dwivedi, AIR News, Jaipur.
Madhya Pradesh reported 3,639 new COVID positive cases yesterday. The positivity rate in the state increased to 4.5%. The active cases in the state stands at 14,413, out of which 13,862 patients are in home isolation. With one fatality, death toll increased to 10,540, while 497 patients recovered from the infection. Indore and Bhopal have the highest positivity rate. Indore reported 1,169, while Bhopal reported 572 new cases. In Gujarat, the new cases of COVID-19 infections are constantly increasing. The state has reported 9,941 new cases, which is the highest since the last 8 months. AIR Ahmedabad correspondent reports that the state government is taking a series of steps to check the spread of infections. More from an Ahmedabad correspondent.
According to the State Health Department, the maximum 3,843 new cases were recorded in Ahmedabad, while Surat recorded 2,505 new cases yesterday. Out of these, 51 patients are on ventilator support. At present, Ahmedabad has 180 active micro-containment zones. Gujarat Technological University has postponed the offline examination due to surge in COVID-19 infections. Meanwhile, the authorities have announced new restrictions in view of Makar Sankranti and Uttarayan festival tomorrow. Flying kites in groups with friends and relatives have been banned following the spike in COVID-19 cases. Yogesh Pandya, AIR News, Ahmedabad.
Maharashtra Health Minister Rajesh Tope has expressed concern over the low vaccination rate in the state and said that there is a shortage of co-vaccine in the state. While speaking to reporters, he said they are receiving calls from district authorities in this regard. He said that the state has demanded 50 lakh doses of Covishield and 40 lakh doses of Covaxin to ramp up the vaccination. He said that the state was registering the rate of 8 to 10 lakh doses per day earlier, and now it has come down to almost 6.5 lakh doses. Legendary singer Lata Mangeshkar is still in ICU, but there is slight improvement in her health. According to the Breach Candy Hospital doctor, Prateet Samdhani said that the singer is also suffering from pneumonia along with COVID, and she will be under observation for 10 to 12 days.
Bangalore urban district in Karnataka has turned into an epicenter of COVID cases in Karnataka, with cases surging to 15,615 yesterday. The number of active cases in the state capital has swelled to 73,654. A Bangalore correspondent says that Brihat Bengaluru Mahanagar Palika has initiated steps to contain the spread of the pandemic in the city. More from a correspondent.
The central war room and zonal war rooms are now working round the clock. The war rooms are keeping a tab on the positive cases, triaging and hospitalization, oxygen availability and infection of children in the city. By tomorrow, 27 COVID care centers will be ready for COVID positive patients. The mobile triage units are now visiting the COVID positive patients to check for symptoms. All the 198 wards in the corporation limits have 1 to 2 mobile triage units. As of now, there are 3,237 beds in government hospitals, 13,540 beds in private hospitals. The COVID website apps.bbmp.gov.in/COVID-19/ and helpline 1533 are helping public with all COVID-related information. Sudhindra, AIR News, Bengaluru.
In Uttarakhand, 30 BSF personnel who came on election duty in Kotdwar have been found corona-infected. Along with this, 11 other people were also found to be COVID positive in Kotdwar. Everyone has been isolated. Meanwhile, 2,915 people were found infected and 3 people had died due to corona in the state yesterday.
With increasing number of COVID-19 cases across the country, Goa also reported a spike in number of COVID cases. Goa on Wednesday reported 3,119 new cases of COVID-19 along with 2 deaths. Currently, active cases are 14,134 and recovered cases are 1,002. More worrisome fact is the increasing positivity rate in the state, which has now crossed 31%. In Andaman and Nicobar Islands, the cases of COVID-19 are soaring high. The total tally of active cases has reached 479. Out of the total active cases, 475 are in South Andaman district only, while Nicobar has 3 cases and 1 case is in North and Middle Andaman district. Negative RT-PCR report is essentially required to land in Port Blair since the 5th of January.
Leader of the opposition in the Rajya Sabha, Mallikarjun Kharge, has tested positive for COVID-19 in a routine RT-PCR test. He is asymptomatic and is under home isolation as per guidelines. Nagaland's COVID-19 active cases surges to 242 after massive 199 new positive cases were reported yesterday from 1,277 test results received. With this, the sample positivity rate jumped from 3.67% to 15.58%.
In poll-bound state Manipur, the number of COVID-19 positive cases has been increasing day by day. 206 people have tested positive for COVID-19 yesterday in the state, while no casualty has been reported due to the pandemic. A report.
The state witnessed the positive rate of 8.6% yesterday. In spite of the sudden increase of positive cases, election campaigns for upcoming poll is going on at the nook and corner of the state. Meanwhile, the vaccination drive has been conducting aggressively in Manipur. In spite of all effort, only 10,14,312 adults are fully vaccinated so far out of targeted 23,41,000 beneficiaries. Manipur is among the lowest vaccinated state in the country. Only Jiribam district is fully vaccinated. This is JJ Thokson from Imphal for AIR News.
Talking to AIR News about booster dose to persons aged above 60 with comorbidities, Dr. Geeta Kampani, Professor Medicine, Safdarjung Hospital said,
60 years and above with comorbidities, जैसे जिनको ब्लड प्रेशर की तकलीफ है या डायबिटीज है या कैंसर से पीड़ित हैं या और कोई ऐसी बीमारी है जिससे उनकी इम्यूनिटी कम होती है, तो इन लोगों को बूस्टर डोज लेना अनिवार्य है। 9 महीने का अंतर होना चाहिए फ्रॉम योर सेकेंड डोज ऑफ वैक्सीनेशन एंड वही वैक्सीन लगानी है जो कि आपने पहले लगाई है। कोविशील्ड लगाई है तो कोविशील्ड का बूस्टर डोज और कोवैक्सीन है तो कोवैक्सीन का बूस्टर डोज।
You are listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to interact with Chief Ministers on COVID-19 situation at 4:30 p.m. today. Government says Omicron variant of COVID-19 is not common cold and should not be taken lightly. Over 154 crore 61 lakh COVID-19 vaccine doses administered under nationwide vaccination drive so far. Over 2,47,000 new cases of COVID-19 reported in the last 24 hours. Recovery rate stands at 95.59%. Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal meets his UK counterpart Anne-Marie Trevelyan for the launch of India-UK Free Trade Agreement negotiations today. Congress releases first list of candidates for the Uttar Pradesh Assembly polls. BJP to finalize candidates for the first two phases. Lohri, the harvest festival, been celebrated in different parts of the country today. Assam to celebrate Uruka tonight on the eve of Magh or Bhogali Bihu. 7 players withdrawn from the Indian Open Badminton Championship being held in Delhi after testing COVID positive. And in cricket, India to resume the second innings at the overnight score of 57-2 against South Africa on day 3 of the third and final test in Cape Town today. For quick news updates around the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle @AIR News Alerts.
चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे, चलो एक इरादा करते हैं, चलो कुछ वादा करते हैं, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे।
India and UK today launched talks for Trade Pact. Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal, speaking to reporters after meeting UK Secretary of State for International Trade Anne-Marie Trevelyan, said both the countries hope to conclude talks in a year or so. He said full-fledged discussion on free trade agreement on a comprehensive economic partnership is truly a very important milestone in engagement between the two countries. Congress leader Priyanka Gandhi Vadra today released the party's first list of candidates for the Uttar Pradesh Assembly polls. A total of 125 candidates were announced. Out of the 125 candidates, 50 candidates were women and 40% were youth leaders. BJP's Central Election Committee also met in New Delhi ahead of the assembly polls in Uttar Pradesh next month. The main purpose of today's meeting was to finalize candidates for the first two phases.
And now let's listen to a special program, Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव।
Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. Birth of a Nation. India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of this struggle every day.
Long before the revolt of 1857, India's tribal communities gave their lives in opposing the colonizers. Tilka Manshi was one of such pioneer Adivasi freedom fighters. He attained martyrdom on the 13th of January, 1784.
Determined to defend his people and land, Tilka organized the Adivasis into an army trained in the use of bows and arrows. In 1770, there was a severe famine in the Santhal region. People were dying of hunger. Tilka looted the treasury of the East India Company and distributed it among the poor. Inspired by this noble act of Tilka, many other tribals also joined the rebellion. With this began his Santhal Hool, the revolt of the Santhals. He continued to attack the British and their allies from 1771 to 1784.
The year 1784 is considered as the first armed rebellion against the British. Tilka Manshi attacked Augustus Cleveland, an East India Company administrator, and fatally wounded him.
Tilka? Tilka. Moi gitra to ka hai khala.
Askeri metamate. Gitra matam dare buru kar de jokane. Rammanate khane khane passe.
Passe?
The British surrounded the Tilapur forest from which he operated, but he and his men held them at bay for several weeks. When he was finally caught in 1784, he was tied to the tail of a horse and dragged all the way to the collector's residence at Bhagalpur. There, his lacerated body was hung from a banyan tree.
After independence, the government erected his statue at the spot where he was hanged. Also, the Bhagalpur University has been named after him. We pay tribute to the brave son of the soil.
On the 13th of January 1849, Battle of Chilianwala was fought during the Second Anglo-Sikh Wars. Sikh army was led by Sher Singh, while the British army was led by Commander-in-Chief Hugh Gow. The Sikh army, though less in numbers than the British, forced the British army to retreat.
The repulse of the British, together with the loss of several guns and men, dealt a blow to British morale. The loss of British prestige at Chilianwala was one of the factors which contributed to the Indian Rebellion of 1857 some 9 years later.
Today we also remember Fakir Mohan Senapati, who was also known as the father of modern Oriya literature.
Born on January the 13th, 1843, Fakir Mohan Senapati was a prolific author and reformer whose writings also infused the masses with nationalism.
नदी परी मो जीवन जाऊअछि बही हसी कांदी कुळु कुळु कथा कही कही
Senapati translated the Ramayana, the Mahabharata and Gita from Sanskrit to the Oriya language. Senapati entwined nationalism and language together, as he believed that nationalism was determined by language. He said that a nation cannot progress by losing its mother tongue, and believed that the development of a nation's language and literature is fundamental for the advancement of a country.
Fakir Mohan Senapati's contribution to Indian literature remains unparalleled and will continue to inspire the coming generations.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
Best wishes to all consumers for Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Hallmark ensures purity of gold. Always purchase Hallmark gold jewelry. For any consumer-related complaints, please contact National Consumer Helpline's toll-free number 14404. Issued in public interest by Department of Consumer Affairs, Government of India, Jago Grahak Jago. The Festival of Harvest, Lohri, has been celebrated today in North India, especially in Punjab, Haryana, Himachal Pradesh, Delhi, Jammu and Chandigarh. President Ramnath Kovind has greeted citizens on the occasion of Lohri.
In Assam, all preparations have been made to celebrate Uruka tonight on the eve of Magh or Boghali Bihu, the post-harvest festival in a grand scale. Community and household feast will be held tonight on the occasion of Uruka. Union Minister Sarbanand Sonowal and Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma greeted people on the occasion of Boghali Bihu. A report.
Assam is all set to celebrate the Bhogali Bihu in a restrained manner due to the rise of COVID-19 cases. The Assam government has slightly relaxed the curfew timings for tonight. However, the administration has appealed to people to celebrate the festival with utmost precaution to prevent the spread of COVID-19 cases. A rush has also been seen in the market in Guwahati also, that including Ujan Bazar Ghat and Bamuni Moidam for Uruka. People constructed meji or thelaghar on various themes made of thatch and firewood will be burned tomorrow morning. Manas Pratim Sharma, AIR News, Guwahati.
7 players withdrew from the India Open Badminton Championship, which has been held in Delhi from Wednesday after testing COVID positive. It includes Kidambi Shrikant and Ashwini Ponnappa. Shrikant is currently world number 10 in the singles, while Ashwini Ponnappa is world number 20 in the women's doubles. N. Sikki Reddy, Dhruv Kapila, Gayatri Gopichand, Akshan Shetty and Kavya Gupta has also pulled out of the competition. In cricket, India was 60-4 against South Africa on day 3 of the third and final test in Cape Town today, when reports last came in. Earlier, India bowled out South Africa for 210 in the first innings.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to interact with Chief Ministers on COVID-19 situation at 4:30 p.m. today. Government says Omicron variant of COVID-19 is not common cold and should not be taken lightly. Over 154 crore 61 lakh COVID-19 vaccine doses administered under nationwide vaccination drive so far. Over 2,47,000 new cases of COVID-19 reported in the last 24 hours. Recovery rate stands at 95.59%. Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal meets his UK counterpart Anne-Marie Trevelyan for the launch of India-UK Free Trade Agreement negotiations today. Congress releases first list of candidates for the Uttar Pradesh Assembly polls. BJP to finalize candidates for the first 2 phases. Lohri, the harvest festival being celebrated in different parts of the country today. Assam to celebrate Uruka tonight on the eve of Magh or Boghali Bihu. 7 players withdrawn from the India Open Badminton Championship being held in Delhi after testing COVID positive. In cricket, India to resume second innings at the overnight score of 57 for 2 against South Africa on day 3 of the third and final test in Cape Town today. And with that, we end the midday news.